welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to EU League. It's Empire versus G2, two of the biggest names in EU esports. Cannot wait to see how this one goes. I'm joined by Jess and Hap on the analyst desk, and we're going to have a deep chat about these two because, look, if you have not watched EU League since the Pro League days 2 years ago before we were heading off to Milan, you'd be thinking, man, G2 Empire, this is like the classic, the top two in the league. The Empire just defeating everybody, but the story is a bit different.
It is a bit different at this very moment. Yeah, we have one team that's rebuilding itself to hopefully reach former glory, and the other one is basically stuck at rock bottom.
Rock bottom, that's probably the best way to put them, unfortunately. I hate to speak negatively of Empire. We've seen the rise and now we've seen the fall of the Russian machine, and there's nowhere up from, nowhere but up from here, I'm hoping, Milosh. Otherwise, it's just, I don't think there's further down.
It's literally impossible. So there's a positive way to look at things. Jess, I always love your positivity. It is infectious, may I just say. So please keep your distance, social distancing for happiness in the stream. Let's talk about these squads and bring up G2 first. The team right now that is really doing well for themselves, solidly in the top four of EUL, where, if you ask me, they are supposed to be.
Yeah, they are, and they came off hot with a 7-3 victory over Trainard in EUL and a 7-2 victory against Secret. So they will be filled with confidence. G2 is currently looking very solid. They want to lock themselves in for that top four spot, just purely on the back of the SI points. It's going to be really important for SI 2022. Just to make sure you get as much points in as possible. So top four, going to be really important right here. However, they are coming up against a very old rival, and that might as well be the pitfall here for G2 because they know each other through and through, and that has shown in the past.
That is the big question, Jess, right? Team Empire have played so many games against G2. If there's one team that understands G2, it should be Arson Squad of Empire. Let's bring up the rosters on the screen. We only have a few minutes before our lobby is set, so let's go.
No problems. Well, I think if I could put it very, very quickly for the audience, unfortunately, this is the worst odds. If you were to put a bet on this game, this is the worst odds that Empire has ever had in the history of them going up against G2 and almost the entire history of them in Tier 1 play in the regular season. It is rock bottom for them at the moment. Nowhere but up, like we said before, and not a single player. I know it says always in a 1 rating, but that is slightly rounded up. So they actually all have negative ratings. Not a single one of them has positive. And I think for me overall, that round performance graph there where they're all negative, that just goes to show that not a single win for them has not boded, well for them. And the maps, the win rate of 0%, we've seen a couple of teams, unfortunately, walk away with that on their team card, especially earlier on in the stage. So I won't say too much, but I will say here today, they've got a lot to prove.
Definitely a lot to prove. Let's see which two players you guys selected for our head-to-head. I'm curious about the roles for this one. It's Uno and Joystick, two handsome fellows. What's the comparison, though, here, Hap?
Yeah. Now, you might be wondering, okay, this is not directly a direct comparison, but in the last, they played 17 games against each other. In the last very game they played, these two were the two leading men for their teams, and well, he's actually doing quite well. He currently sits at a positive rating, a little bit of a support role right there, as you can see with the Capitão and the mirror, really basically specifying him into dividing the sides, and it has been working out quite well for G2 so far.
I mean, the reason you pick these two kind of players is that last time they went head-to-head, I think they had like one of the both leading ratings that pointed out before, and I thought that's a great sort of thing to be able to turn around and go, well, last time they went head-to-head, this was in stage 2, mind you, and they had two of these players stepping up for both of their teams. Uno, who hasn't particularly been stepping up for G2 this season, and Joystick, who likewise hasn't been having the best of stages so far. So I want to see them step up against each other again here today. That would be a really good storyline.
Two players have been getting on cams for a lot of times for these two teams. I'm quite curious how it'll translate into the game. Which map will we be playing on? Let's see what Pandora's Box has, and its consulate. Man, G2 picked. Is there a more classic map for G2 Empire than a consulate? Our Empire. Okay, this is like back in the day, Jess, where you're just sitting back with Zeronic, and you're thinking, okay, let's time. Will Empire yet again on Consulate take from a very specific part of the map within 2.5 minutes, and then finally dive on the site? It's just wow. It's so beautiful.
This is crazy because we said it's literally going to be a rivalry. It's going to be a rematch. And this is the exact map they went to in stage 2 last year that we just referenced in the head-to-head. This is literally the map. And guess what? Team Empire absolutely demolished G2 7-2. G2, more like 7-2. If they do that again here today, wouldn't even be surprised because honestly, that was such a domination. I mean, they could do it again if they kick off.
Jess, have you seen G2 over the last couple of days, though? You know they started off with a loss, of course.
I'm trying to hype the game.
Yes, I know, but I'm just saying. I know. Listen, Jess,
sorry.
I know you're going to say they have an opportunity to roll over. I'm just saying G2 has not been sitting still on this map. They have been absolutely demolishing a couple of teams as well. So I think this is going to be a very explosive map coming in here.
Look, she's doing the
Empire
face.
Is holding... I know she's doing the face, but it doesn't matter anyway. Empire is using what happened in the past and they're trying to reach out, into that pocket and bring it back to the present. And they, if they succeed, that is going to be absolutely crazy. But they're going up against the map where G2 is also feeling very confident right now. So I think we're going to go into what Ace would say a humdinger of a map right here. I'm not downplaying them, Jess. Don't worry. I'm just saying you have Empire,
I am never
very
getting
good.
on the desk with Hap again.
I'm just saying Empire,
This
very
man's
good.
hype it.
G2,
rivalry,
very good
do
as
it,
well.
Jess. And I'm like, no problems. Let me do it for you, Hap. Let me hype up the match for you. And then he gets on the desk and goes, you are stupid. And I'm like, okay, see you later. Throw it, Milosh, because I'm done here.
All right, let's toss it all back to our casters then. See what G2 versus Empire has to show. Battle of Titans historically in EU. Well, but it's more of a David Goliath now. Let's see if it goes down on Consulate in the way that we expected. All back to our casters. Enjoy.
Thank you, Milosh. We are heading to Consulate, and I always love a bit of that, especially for G2 versus Empire. I get the feeling that this one is going to be the moment that Empire wake up.
You want it to be, don't you? It's that classic, it's that showdown, it's that story, and we're looking at a different version of it. We're looking at an off-brand G2 and Empire showdown because it's not the same as it was, but you really want it to be, don't you?
Can we have G2 and Empire, Em? Don't tell me we've got it at home.
I think we've got it at home, and I guess this will be the answer, Empire. You're the ones that have to show up and show down. Sure, we've talked about the fact that you're bottom of the board with a singular point. It hasn't quite been a season you'll want to remember so far, but you may as well at least try and get something out of it. And if you can start that against the long-time rivals that you've been able to pull points from before, in what was probably upsetting ways for G2 fans, well, here is the moment. Here is where we make magic, and here is where we start to tell potentially the story of the Russians returning fire against G2.
I'm going to do what I can, Em. I'm going to pile on and I'm going to try and speak this into existence. I think forget about G2 Empire at home. I think we're going out for the full fat version here. We are going to have lashings of this one and it's going to be an absolute banger. I'm really hoping for it. Valkyrie coming out on the bans. Rounding things away will be Mute alongside Hibana and Nomad. So all pretty much business as usual, lad. The Hibana's a little bit interesting. I think taking a hard breach out is fine. I don't know whether Ace or Thermite might have been of a little bit more value here on Consulate, but it gets the job done, I think, one way or another. We're at a point where with enough hard breaches now that even with a double hard breach ban, you can still work around it. So really not the end of the world. But that Mute, that's quite an interesting one coming in from G2. Not one that we see too often.
There's a lot of places where he can lock himself in as well. You're looking at, obviously, how we see a big presence at the minute for, kind of play around Mute and play around with the potential where he can dig in. Here, he's always kind of had a presence on Consulate. You're looking behind places like pipes. You're obviously looking at dug in on the bathroom. You look at those quick fire places around the swing and potential towards lobby, or if they're going for an admin take, which we know Empire like to do, having those jammers can really slow and kind of scarper the hopes because it's not easy to get your drones up in there without that kind of instant access and without the bait and so it sort of limits that. It pulls play back there. Drones, they're a very important utility, obviously, and here on Consulate, I mean, it's a very long drive all the way up to the top or a window, but if that window's covered by mozzies or by mutes, well, at least you've only got 50% of that to worry about.
Round number 1, we are playing down in Archives, and tell us G2 choosing to take us straight to the split site this time around, and I can hear you saying to me, Ace, what's going on? Why are we using all this utility up on the top floor? What is going on when one of the bomb sites is down in the very basement? Well, let me tell you, the reason that we're defending this so hard is we want to lock admin down, because Team Empire, they're probably going to come in and look for vertical control. There's 2 ways to do this. You can either push straight in through Garage and just literally rush into Archives and try and lock it down. It tends to be the less common approach. Usually, as we've seen from Empire here with the early push, they're going to try and get themselves established top floor. They're going to move all the way across there, and they're going to take out them defenders one by one or force them back downstairs. That vertical control allows them then to take over the teller's site, and that is where you get your diffuser whacked down on the table or on the marble planes to try and stay away from the nitros that we're going to see getting tossed around by the side of G2. You can see, point of note, there's 3 of those bad boys on there, and they're going to be looking to squeeze every drop of death out of them that they can.
Well, look at the pace here as they're applying themselves instantly across the top. They're not waiting around, they're looking for the fights, and Dan finds the first, and that puts a huge amount of pressure on that body still playing inside. Great response from Kayak, and well, we all remember the terror he put down on Russian teams last time they were here on this map, pulling in one of the best clutches we've seen all season, so we expect him to be able to step up and step into this fight pretty consistently. Shepard finds himself with the diffuser, waiting for that steady control to come from the opposite side. Virtue's rotated out into Printer to try and find a bit more safety. Has the Arena Gate to stop some instant swing round, but look at the body of the Sledge going deep, swinging the wrong way, doesn't know he's already left. There's the catch on the corner. There is Virtue, well aware, doesn't see the rotation round to the left. He hops in a new angle, is able to find one, almost caught by the second. There it is, always with the trade.
Great play from Virtue there, just squeezing everything he could out of that little tight corner that he'd found himself in. He almost looked like a frightened puppy for a second, just holding himself in copy, but he made it work and he made his impact. 2 versus 2 now as we come into the final 45 seconds. Shepard's on site and can think about a plant, but Citizen thinks about one thing and one thing only, and that's a headshot onto Always. There's still the nitro on Uno. Out it goes, it'll be unsuccessful as Shepard moves away, but he can't risk that diffuser just yet, can he? He's going for it. And this is where the time starts ticking down. 2 seconds to confirm. He will lock it in. I'm not sure if G2 have maybe just took the foot off the gas at the wrong time there. Shepard can defend this now. 1 versus 2. Essential that he finds this first kill when the challenge comes.
You can see Citizen is doing all the talking as he tries to organise the push and the pinch from both sides. They have to be in a position where if one drops, the other swings around from the opposite angle, but they don't even need it. Uno opens it up, and there's a defuse on round 1.
Easy for Uno, bringing out the Vector. It's the perfect gun for a one-on-one fight like that. I think the fire rate, don't quote me on it, but I think it's about 56,000 rounds a second. And the Vector just cutting through Shepard like a laser beam there. As soon as you press the trigger on that gun, there's enough bullets in the air to kill somebody. It's an absolute nightmare in a fight like that, which Shepard just found out. No surprises that he loses on the reverse angle, and that's going to be a successful denial there of the activated diffuser from G2, getting in there, disabling that, and locking down round number 1 on what could be described as one of the difficult sites here on Consulate. Things have got to go right for you to win the Archives and Tellers.
I think that's it as well, bringing that as like the first pick, putting that in the mix immediately with a lot of the options that are in front of them. Sure, I wouldn't say it's quite the spanner in the works that it used to be, because you see a lot of teams play it as a third site. You expect it to show its face every time. It's not one of those we're never going to see Jim and we're never going to see Bar Hap on Clubhouse. Stop asking. But
never going to happen.
Never going to happen. Hap, stop it. Bad. But at the same time, you're looking at, okay, if they bring it on the first, you're usually expecting a CEO, usually expecting potentially a cafe, depending on the bands. The pace, I think Empire got to the top. It was very quick.
They did. They moved in quickly. They established themselves well. We saw Always moving across that top floor very, very quickly. It was just a couple of lost gunfights that have cost them there. Essentially, leaving Shepard in the 1v2, needing to plant. That's really the moment that it turned around for me. If that post plan is 2v2 and you can move away from site and establish a crossfire, then maybe we're talking about a different outcome. But Shepard, he did everything he could, but the best he could do was to try and lock it down from site and just keep himself close to that diffuser and win his gunfights when they came. Unfortunately for him, he was up against the vector of Mira, and Uno was able to win it out. So looking at round number 2 now, we are going all the way up to the top floor. So probably going to see a very similar round here from Team Empire as they tried to take control of top floor last time. They will try to do exactly the same this time. They need to be aware that there is an echo on the board. Virtue will have 2 of those yokai drones, so that's something that needs to be dealt with. No IQ on the side of Empire, so it's going to be all down to the eyeballs to spot those out.
Now then, the pressure's coming in pretty hot and heavy, but if everyone's ever seen a consulate map, you know it gets heavier pretty quickly, and that's the big concern here, is to keep a handle and an angle on all the possibilities of G2 getting aggro back. So far, no big showing, but they obviously have Suicide open, prep for the potential of some aggression there that Dan is keeping an eye on. I believe they have someone watching the bottom of Yellow Stairs too for the possibility of a swing out there, but it didn't seem stacked from the sides of G2. In fact, they've just handed that over for now, minus some obviously well-placed Arunis and hard locked off the bathroom. That leaves Empire in a bit of a tough situation. They're trying to find a safe way to put the pressure in, but they know sometimes as soon as you start, things will come up around the back stairs. Talking of Always digs his way in, finds Kayak across the top. That is the Kaid gone. That's a big gun gone too.
Empire coming in with the opening kill for the second round in a row here. Let's see if they can double down a little bit better here and increase that man advantage. Last time around, it was traded out very quickly. It was Kanto who actually took the first death in round 1, and Kayak able to just get straight back in there and level things up. That hasn't happened this time around. Team Empire, they've got themselves good control over Yellow. They've got the man on the console repel. The Aruni gates have been reactivated there, so if Shepard wants to swing in with that diffuser, utility will have to be burnt to open up those laser gates, but they can worry about that in a little bit. They've still got time on their side here with 40 seconds. G2, they've been pushed deep. They're all the way back into meeting now. Shepard can think about getting this diffuser down.
Well, the Echo's watching, counting. There's a mark, there's a hop up, and there's going under the chair, so he can't get caught too easily. The spray does find it, and he's going to double down. The other drone, it's underneath the hatch, I believe, drops back down the second story, and Citizen is keeping it safe as he watches the cover. There's another ping. There's another disappearing drone. The magic act that is making Empire kind of hate magic right now. Just has to wait again. Hits it one more time. No, a little bit more and a little bit less. Uno and Virtue over the top. G2 find their second.
And that is how you innovate with a yokai drone and a hatch. We've seen it done before. I know that it's nothing new, bouncing it up and down between 2 floors. But think of everything else that G2 did along with that. Citizen down there in Piano. You need somebody who can protect that yokai drone, because straight away Team Empire are going to think, get into Piano, get it shot out, stop it preventing us from getting that diffuser down. Citizen, he's your one man that you want in that situation, because he's going to win that gunfight. And boy, oh boy, did he. Kept the yokai drone safe, but then just beautiful play, bouncing it up and down through the hatch. Comical, if you want to look at it that way. It's not something that we see every day, but it was certainly different, and it was certainly enjoyable.
Well, now we find ourselves down in the cafe in the garage to see, I suppose, what they can do here. So far, the utility has proved a little bit of a disturbance for Empire, but they've been able to kind of manhandle their way past a lot of the use of the Aruni gates, or past a lot of the standard ADSs. It seems like it's boiling down to the end of they have that one last little bit in the canister that's been very good for G2 this whole campaign, and that's their ability to shoot people in the face, which Empire, you know, it's these little moments of we know what they're capable of, but some of their big gunners, they've had hit and miss days, and obviously, you know, it's very early doors, but on a map like Consulate, you kind of want to see some of those numbers start to rise on their KD ratio.
Anybody wondering there why Kayak was being quite so specific with that electroclaw is because he wanted it underneath that metal fuse box. Because if you can get it just right, thank you, Medic, showing us there, just underneath there, what happens is the attackers will often try and get themselves into piano to clear off that denial from the garage wall. So they get in there above, they open up the floor, and they look down vertically. So if that electroclaw is well placed underneath there, it can make it very difficult to clear out. Not impossible, but this is all about wasting time. Not only are you looking for chip damage onto players, you're looking for chip damage onto the clock as a defender. You're just wanting to burn that 10, 20, 30 seconds of trying to locate and get rid of utility. Now then, Uno just waiting on that skylight, but Danny's going to dance away for the time being and keep himself alive.
Now the swing in comes with a grenade leading the charge, and the Pulse is working overtime. This is a fantastic map for a good Pulse player. Can get a full read on the presence of the players because of its rectangular yet tall shape. It's thin. And, well, that's a way to lean your way outside. They're going to put a lot of noise down, and they're going to be prepared for the possibility of the angle from the top. But Dan wasn't quite there to capitalize on the 3 bodies down in the bottom. Cypher, in the meantime, opening up steady angles and steady control. A minute 30 left, and they're starting to try and find a clarity, a space. And yet again, they've got the opener.
Always on to Kanto this time, and as you say, yet again, Empire 100% on entry kills so far, yet to make that pay in terms of a round on the scoreboard. G2 able to fight back from numbers disadvantage each time so far. Always looking to get aggressive into piano now, open up those vertical angles that I spoke about, and Dan, he's going to double down with a kill onto Citizen, leaving us now 5 versus 3, and G2, they really are up against it here. Backs it to the wall. Dan is poised for a hatch drop. Virtue is underneath, could be aware with that heartbeat scanner. ADS is in, so almost certainly has the knowledge of where that player is. 45 seconds left to go, and we found ourselves a little bit of a lull here. The calm before the storm, surely.
Yeah, Dan's headed back away from the hatch to start trying to open some angles. They're concerned about this, the rotation possibilities. Kayak wants to lead with Uno to pick up the cover. There it is. There's one red body above them, though, and if they're the ones that make the catch, well, they're able to get one. The C4 over the top to lock it off. Uno caught by Scythe around the back stairs, and now they're just going to try and stick the plant. Virtue is trying to dig his way back in to offer some support, but it's a 4 versus 2 post-plant situation. Make that 3 versus 2 as Kayak's able to do a little bit more upstairs. Important. Virtue didn't quite get the true angle on where the body was. We can see a lot of rotations coming out. They're pulling back. This is a very challenging retake, especially as we hear more and more of that wall on the garage being opened. Going for the heartbeat to see if they can get one more before they go for it. Kayak has the lockdown from above and is safe and secure in his idea that, well, they're safe and secure there, but there's still a lot more they have to do. The first firefight goes the way of Joystick, and with only 10 seconds left and a little bit too far out of step for the diffuser, it's just frags at this moment in time. Virtue's going to try and find one on the door, doesn't quite get it, swings in to look for one more just on the corner, but no.
The most difficult retake in all of Siege there for my money, and we can see exactly why. Once the attackers get that diffuser down and get themselves established outside of garage on that nice long driveway, it is a tough fight to be able to close them out, get the kills and get onto that diffuser, especially with such limited time. Kayak showing why it's so difficult there. You ain't moving across a doorway that Joystick is sat watching. He is going to cut you down like a cyborg he is. He's just going to find them shots every single time.
I think Joystick as well, obviously he had an MVP showing, I think it was 2 play days before this, and then he's otherwise been quite quiet, and I know it's always been a bit of discussion is he on the role that we think, or that kind of historically he's been able to perform big on, and is his role on Zofia going to be something where he can try and, I guess, get into the action a little bit more?
Looking towards round number 4 then, and as you say, Joystick's certainly been getting more involved in the action over the last couple of playdays than we've maybe seen historically, and I don't know whether that's part of the changes to try and push Empire towards more positive results or not. We'll see as the stage continues. Now, Virtue just once again piling utility into the top floor here. The site is archives and tellers, and as I explained previously, Empire will more than likely try to sweep across the top floor. Now, interesting interestingly, the site is all being set up towards the admin windows once again. It's one of those you sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't, because if you don't set that up, Empire are going to recognise and rush straight in through admin, no question. If you do, they tend to push in from the yellow corridor instead, which they did last time around, onto the yellow stairs, up through the long desk, and they just push you from the rear and sort of outplay some of your utility. So it's a very difficult balance to get. You've got to have some support up there on the top floor, which I'm sure that G2 will have in place. We can see Kanto in exactly the position that I was talking about to try and halt that alternative push. But right now, Empire, they're going for every which angle they can find.
Well, Kanto might get caught here and does yet again. 3rd of 4. He's been the first body off the board, and there was just caught by a man dangling over, or not even dangling, just hanging around on a skylight, and that really puts Virtue in a tricky situation here. Kayak playing a pretty good spot here in case any of those bits of Selma charges are popped over. They can't quite get the full read in the smoke, so he's just going to pre-fire and hope anything gets caught. But there's Kayak just getting some revenge on Dan instead. Not 100% sure where that kill came through from, but it's a big one, obviously. That buck gone, that's going to severely limit the control that they can get over that very tight corridor where always wants to swing it onto Printer, or obviously some admin angles themselves.
There is an opportunity with Kanto dead for Empire to rotate around a little bit and try to push from the console or yellow stairs side, but it doesn't look like they're going to take the time to do that, and the only thing they're taking the time to do is to eat a nitro to the face from Kayak, and that is going to give G2 the advantage once again. And how many times have we seen this, But here we go, Joystick's on the move that I said, he's moving across the top floor from the opposite side. He's outplaying that utility that G2 have got in there. Scyther has pinched in from the admin side, and G2 have had to bail. They've had to get themselves out of there and live to fight another day. They've still got 55 seconds left to survive. Empire have got the top floor control they need. They can start thinking very soon about moving into tellers for a plant. This is a very exciting and tense round.
Now then, what can you do here, Empire? Obviously, you've been able to put the diffuser down on here before, and that was in a 2 versus 1 situation, but there's still a C4 in the pocket of Uno. There's still the potential for them to be able to pull something cheeky out, and you only have, well, just over 25 seconds, so you have the option to try and dig it in, maybe bait out that first C4 and stick yourself up on a pedestal. The movement comes, so does that Thatcher and the EMP. They're going to try and lead on it there. Uno might not have the read, is trying to open the angle so he can throw that C4 up, but too little too late, and Citizen is actually going to get aggro around on the back side now as he swings from the lobby stairs, the post plant, and Kayak still feeding the information to the bodies that are above. They want to utilize, obviously, that to its full potential, and it's Joystick that catches Uno rotating up the stairs, gonna move, keep them guessing as to where he is, and Citizen has to go hunting because Kayak does not have a safe entry and a safe route upstairs. Shepard is locking it down too. They know where the plant is, and they're gonna wait for that audio cue as Joystick goes for the swing, goes for the aggression, and finds it pretty easily. There's Citizen. He's looking for the fight round down the stairs, doesn't actually get caught by Shepard. Here's the movement. It's a little bit too late yet again, and Empire pull themselves back level.
Great round from Empire there. Love what I see. Bringing it down to a 3 versus 3. Focusing Shepard once again. That's the 3rd plant of the game so far, and they've won 2 of the rounds, so 66% win rate when they get that diffuser down and active on the ground. It is working for them. The objective game is their friend at the minute. 2-2, they level things up, and for me, looking at what's going on here for G2, how can they improve? Because overall, I think they've actually played pretty well, They've really sort of had a read on what Empire have been doing. They've been able to play into them quite well. Kanto losing his life in 3 of the opening 4 rounds. First kill is not helping them right now. He needs to switch up what he's doing. If he's going on and trying to be that aggro player, trying to get up to the windows, maybe he just needs to switch away from that and say, you know what, it's not working for me today. The timing, the shots, whatever it is, somebody else is going to have to get up in Empire's face.
2-2 G2, and you probably didn't expect this from Empire, but Empire, well, they're a team that have historically been very good against you and able to kind of put in these fierce, ferocious fights, and to them, that builds that confidence, that builds that momentum and this idea of, okay, the season's been bad so far, but in the strangest way possible. G2 are maybe one of the best teams for them to start to lead some confidence back, start to lead some momentum. There's Kayak from underneath, because they're pretty familiar with each other. As weird as it goes, the rivalry that's been kind of dated so long this isn't just them playing in a league where things have gone wrong. This is Empire vs G2. This is its own Derby Day style thing, and that works for Empire.
Round 5 we head into then. Garage is going to be the site once again for G2 to try and defend. They were unsuccessful back in round 3. Empire able to lock it down, get that diffuser down, and just defend it from the long driveway. Now that is rapid progress there. Inside of the first 30 seconds we see that wall getting opened, and this is what happens when Thatcher is on the board. For anybody who's maybe a little bit newer to Siege, and you see us going through that operator banning phase, and you see Thatcher, Playday after Playday, and you're wondering why is Thatcher going out so much? This is the reason. His EMP grenades just so useful at getting around that denial on hard reinforced surfaces like Garage Wall.
Oh,
fantastic. Scyther, come
Pog
on.
mat.
He's gone into the Pog mat, M.
It's a Pogmat. Add it to the Pogmat tally. Pop up the Pogmat graphic as Citizen strikes down on the opposite side. Scyther, well, they're going to get you back up, so it's not a confirmed Pogmat kill. It's more like a 0.5.
Imagine if he'd come in through the other.
Oh, that would have been... We saw a lot of...
Pogmat coefficient would have gone through the roof.
Honestly, out of the charts. We've already seen some good Pogmat action earlier today as well in the first game, so, hey, continue the trend.
Why not? Bucking the trend though, G2 come in with an opening kill this time around. Citizen manages to get one onto Dan, and that is the Thatcher gone. And that's a very worthwhile kill early on. Yes, the wall's already been opened, but whilst there are still AMPs in pocket, they can be very valuable for disabling those electronics, such as the Banshees and the Kaid claws, if there's any left on Hatchers, the Jaeger ADSs, so long as the ADS doesn't catch the EMP first, the counterplay that we love from Siege, of course. Now, Always has got himself in. He's a floor too high at the minute. He's opening that floor up from console into piano. And basically what he's looking to do is move away anybody who's playing in there, which is Kantor right now. He's trying to hold down piano on the Malusi there. He's opening up the angles in reverse as well. He's well and truly up for this fight. He wants to get himself on the board, and he wants to keep that piano room safe.
And Ricchetti, he's trying to live up to that rocket name by looking to the skies, but on a 0 to 3, make that a 0 to 4. He is unfortunately having a bit of a false launch this game. There's the swing potential round. The pressure onto Kayak. He might get caught by the Zephyr if he's unaware. The pressure's concerning from above, and Joystick is aware of this, puts the pressure and finds the kill. Was taken out utility, but Kayak unfortunately stepped right into the line of fight. Virtue drops one, but they've managed to pull themselves right in between the two vehicles. Now he's dropped with the diffuser. It's cold. Joystick tries to make it hot, but he's a little too late. G2 scrappy him by the skin of their teeth, but a very precious round.
It's all about getting it over the line by an inch or by a mile. It does not matter, It's about getting that point on the scoreboard, and G2 have done that there by frustrating Team Empire and just not giving them the opportunity to get the diffuser down. And it's smart play by G2, because what we've seen from Team Empire so far is a big objective focus. It has been about getting the diffuser down. 3 out of 5 rounds so far, they've been able to do that. So with a 60% plant rate, you have to start playing into that. You got to lean into it as G2. And they've been able to frustrate them there and just burn that clock down and prevent the diffuser going on the ground. That's where their focus lied, and that's where I think they need to focus here in round 6 of console, office and meeting room. Now, we know from previous, the last attacking push from Empire onto this site was to get themselves into yellow stairs, get Shepard on those 2 console windows on the rappel, and then come inside and get the plant down. There was a smart Echo play, but you don't get away with that again, and that's why Echo is not on the board. If anybody's wondering, Echo did it great last time. Where's the Yokai drones? There's no point, because you know the Empire, they're not going to have that one again. You don't get away with it twice. It's one of those, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And Empire, they're certainly not going to have any shame. So G2, they know that it's time to switch things up. Again, smart play from them.
This is the other adaptation I quite like here, and I'm assuming it's going to come to fruition, but I'll wait, is the change away from the Kaid, which was Kayak, buried right under those windows, to, I'm assuming, Virtue, who's going to play around that same space with a little bit more reinforcement and a lot more health. Potentially, the Doctor is in, and he's going to try and stick with some aggression onto these windows and bait out, because that was the first pinch and bit of pressure. It was applied to that body that was the closest to the site and locking it down, and this method of doing it might be a way of just letting him take a few more of these fights and being a little bit more mobile and keeping them at the kind of death's door, which is how we've seen most of these plants play out, is these death's door, let's throw ourselves in final 30 seconds and try and get this stuck.
Joystick just getting up there on that spiral staircase skylight to try and get any early picks that he can. Just has a cheeky look. There's nothing doing, so he moves away. He's going to support the push into admin now. This is interesting. We don't always see this angle used by teams. There is the general push would be yellow stairs and console windows, but the alternative is what we are seeing here. Getting inside of admin and pushing through to the meeting room, which would be the other side, the one that's near the balcony, and has got all the little disco lights inside it. So Dan's going to try and work that balcony angle. He's going to try and force defenders out of there. Meanwhile, Empire try and get the rest of their bodies into admin, and they'll start breaching walls. As you can see, always gets himself in here. You've got the reinforcement wall by Long Desk. It was the one just in front of you there. Has always made that challenge onto Kanto, and he doubles down and gets the kill onto Kanto. They'll try and get a hard breach in there. They'll open up that reinforcement. That'll stop anybody playing in the corner where Uno is now. He'll have to rotate out, and that gets Empire their access to site.
Kanto is having one of those days, rather forgotten, I think, right now, and so far he was at least able to do some damage to Scyther, who has had even more damage dealt to him in the meantime, and that's going to really put pressure onto anything he does in terms of trying to apply pressure onto the site itself, which in the hands of an Ash with all those charges, it's a little bit of a damage, but in terms of shepherding away from the site, it's so far working okay for Empire. Dan suffers a little bit more, holding a pretty decisive angle on Suicide Balconies, waiting for the possibility of someone to get a little bit brave, and he can kind of make them a little bit foolish, and it's always that finds Virtue with a hell of a pick.
What a beauty of a headshot from Always. The full length of the meeting room site there just gets his pixel and takes him down. 5 versus 3, 30 seconds left to go. Team Empire have got the time, they've got the map possession. They need to think about getting this diffuser down.
Now it is. The smoke starts to pop out on the opposite side. Uno's waiting to hear the call from underneath. Has an impact and is concerned with the swing. Isn't that concerned? Finds Dan, finds the drop, finds the diffuser, and with 10 seconds left, Empire find themselves in a bit of a tricky situation. Able to get a triple kill out of it, but with only a handful of seconds left, Uno has gone for the big rotate. Drops one on the desk, goes for the second, just has to find that planter. Will swing and pre-fire. There it is, Uno with the ace!
Uno, absolutely massive from him. Steps in on the Maestro and just deals one blow after another to the dreams and hopes of Team Empire. How many times can they try and get that diffuser down but be denied by the same man? Unbelievable play from Uno.
Well, there's the player of the week. Chalk it up.
I've done.
John?
That's that one.
Everyone go home now. That was exceptional. Everywhere he needed to be. The instant rotation up. Won the fight on Long Desk. And that Alder, oh, it goes brr.
Dare I go so far as to say, that was... I mean, I need to watch it back to see, I don't want to go in too big, but that was a near perfect defensive round from Uno himself, personally. He played that fantastically. He dropped out a meeting at the right time, kept himself alive in a good position. This first kill is essential. Look at that. It's disgusting as he takes down Dan, but it allows him then to open up the angle. He's still got the utility that he needs. Everything has been thought about. Look at that win there. Empire. Unreal from him. And then still has the time on a very slow Maestro to get across and deny that diffuser going down on the ground. That is spectacular from Uno.
Played him like a 2-speed.
He really did. He got every drop out of him. He got every drop. He did not spare a second with him there.
All right, 10.5, 4-2. And well, if you wanted a bit of momentum, there it is, G2, but can you build on your attacks? A player either side still hasn't found their way onto the K stat, and well, for Shepard it's a little bit worse, but he's actually second on the board, as it was pointed out by Medics, which kind of shows, okay, well, what he's doing is bringing a huge amount of utility, a huge amount of getting that intel to your team, playing that role well, which has led to, obviously, the consistency of the plants. It's translating that now onto a defense where you're going to have to battle back against the strategies that are being put towards you, Citizen. Heading in on admin quickly, concerned about somebody that might swing around the vending machine side, but nobody is home as of yet, and that allows the G2 bodies to start their clear across the top. Not sure what Kayak was attempting there, getting himself to a bit of safety behind Citizen, but otherwise, it's still steady, and it's still 2 minutes left.
All I've got in my head is somebody slapping Uno on the back, saying, like, you would not believe how many clutches you can get inside of here. That's all I've got in my head at the minute. Round 7, we are in, and Uno needs to stop distracting us with crazy plays. Dan, he's trying to lock down meeting G2. They're coming for the same push as we saw out of Empire last time. They're trying to take admin. They've got boots on the ground. Kantor's getting in there on the sledge, opening up the rotations they need. Good progress from G2 so far. The question now is, can they carry that momentum that we've just seen from them? Can they keep pushing and stretching Empire here? Can they find a way? Next step is to do something about Dan. There's 2 options. I mentioned it last time. You can hard breach the reinforcement. Alternatively, what they'll probably do is shoot out above the hard reinforcement. There you go. Perfectly timed. And then they'll get some nades in over the top. There is an ADS, so they might need to get a few flashes in there as well. Let's clear out that utility. Make sure that due diligence has been paid. But that's not the best Selma. It just got caught on the top there. Good progress from G2 though.
Well, look at Joystick underneath with the pulse. Does have a C4 in pocket and is steadily making his way round, potentially just to underneath Printer. Knows that that's where the pressure is coming from and knows that he might be able to do something big with that bit of utility. There is a bit of concern and cover as they make sure that he's steady on his approach. It's Dan that drops Uno, though, on the opening with a hop out the window. He was waiting for a very long time. And unfortunately, well, now he's not going to wait any longer. But they're going to try and utilize this and apply more pressure. Citizen unfortunately doesn't make it mark, and there is another body, but finally stopped by Kayak on Suicide. Virtue across the top finds one, but now it's only Virtue to find all of the rest, swinging on all the potentials, but with 2 seconds, no diffuser. Well, it's a triple, but it was a bit of an unexpected one.
I've just had one of those, like, you know, like a heart palpitation there where I'm thinking he doesn't do this in the last half a second. He can't be lucky enough for the third man to drop in front of him as well, and he wasn't. Team Empire able to lock that one out. But again, very close, and G2 just looking so aggressive at the minute. You can see that their blood is fired up, and I mean, no wonder when you've got Uno coming out and playing rounds like he did in round 6. It is definitely going to pep your team up. It's going to put a little spring in your step, I would imagine, and that's what we're seeing at a G2 right now. But Empire still able to continue with their strong entry game. Dan able to come in, Dan the man shutting down Uno and saying an ace is quite enough, thank you very much. We're not going to have any more kills chained onto the end of that. Now, round number 7 we head into, round number 8, sorry, we head into, and it's going to be down in Garage this time around. Empire, they are, at the minute, the picture I've got right now is Empire are sort of clinging on tight to the coattails of G2, who are just careening away, but Empire are keeping hold and they're keeping pace. They're not being shook off here. They are making this competitive, and this for me is just, it's going to be another one in the catalogue of great G2 Empire rivalry games.
I mean, you hope so. That was one of the things that we said at the beginning, is no one likes to see a team suffer and struggle. No one likes to see a team not quite perform to their best, or, you know, not quite have the same heat that they have brought before or as the rest of the league. And that's unfortunately been the story with Empire so far. Is sure, there's been a couple of games where things have, you know, got to 7-5 against them, but oh, it's Empire. You want them to be a fearsome opponent. You want them to be a big challenge to surmount. And here against G2, it's the possibility a long-armed Impact is able to take off half of Kayak's health. I don't know if he was trying to catch the Selma with that, but he caught the ace instead, and that's going to be something that's going to make that approach much tougher, especially with Shepard in the role of that smoke canister, because a lot of the plants and a lot of the positioning of that is pretty standard. You know where the attackers are generally going to want to stick it down, and where you want to stick them down, as Dan, yet again, gets the opener for Empire.
It's really been solid today as Dan so far, locking them down time and time again. He had one back in round 1. That's his 3rd overall on the day at least now. He really is flying. So G2, they managed to trade one back. It's Joystick who goes by the wayside, but there is one to trade that off as well. So it's 4 versus 3 now, and the pressure can start to mount towards G2. They've got to do something. They're getting towards that halfway. They've only just cleared out top floor. We can see Citizen dropping down off the rappel now. Kantor's still not sure about that though. He's still very cautious, and that just says maybe a little bit of a lack of information. Citizen now getting on the drone. That should help that situation, but what it just says is maybe there's not a lot of active drones out there that the dead players are able to sit and watch and feed information back in. But Kantor now gets himself into Piano confidently, but he shouldn't have been. That confidence was misplaced. Dan's been missed then. He's been missed, and he's wriggled in there, and he's taken him down.
Triple now for Dan, and he has just been so much of a problem on the defenses. Was always a presence on the attacks as well. Just put himself in these positions where he could take a body and usually got traded out. But here, where he's really utilizing what Consular offers best, which is the aggressive rotations. Finally stopped by Citizen, and he has 45 seconds to try and find 3 more. They know exactly where he is and what he wants to do at this point, but are they going to throw themselves at it and towards it? They don't have to stress. They know exactly what the play is here, and without any of their defenses truly being tested down inside the site, it puts them in a situation of, well, let's just lock ourselves in and wait for him to try and finish the work.
Perfectly timed. They're holding themselves back there, and always just waits for the drop and picks up the shot. Nice and easy for Empire, and that levels us up 4-4 here. So as an absolute minimum, we are going to see 11 rounds, and that is what this game deserves. I'm thinking there's a very real potential for overtime already on the cards here, because this is going tooth and nail, and neither side is willing to give nor expect any quarter here. They really are going hard for it. Now, we've got a tactical timeout coming in from G2M. They're just wanting to slow the pace down a little bit.
That makes sense. You obviously find yourself in the situation of 4-4. It's been back and forth throughout most of this, but they would have come into this expecting an easier day. They would have come into this expecting to be able to take a little bit more, put a little bit more presence onto the game itself, based on their history with Consular, based on their history with this league so far, and based on how Empire have been playing. But those little missed moments, as you said, it seemed like they weren't too sure about that roam clear, and it turns out they were right. They weren't sure. Dan was still on the loose. Those are the things that they know that they can tighten. Those are the things that they're having a conversation about right now and saying, lads, we got to rein that back in. We're G2.
I mean, it's quickly and easily fixed, as you say. You know, the information is there. Look, Dan came out of bathroom and got me in Piano. We've drawn that out. I'm going in there. We need to know about this. We need to know where he's come from. We need to know where he is. You know, whether that was a top floor drop through hatch and then move through spiral and circle desk, or whether that was in bathroom and just not been spotted out, is irrelevant, really. They just can't allow Dan or anybody on Empire that sort of freedom, because today Empire have switched on. They are definitely ready to play here, and they are looking sharp. So heading back in then after that tactical timeout, I'm sure quick words will have been had from Shas and G2, just trying to square things away and try and just slow things down a little bit, because things are starting to get away from them with 2 rounds on the bounce going to Empire, and G2 yet to find a successful defense. This time they're going to be attacking onto press and lobby, so there'll be plenty of attention paid to the top floor again. They need to lock down those vertical angles before they can have any hope of getting the diffuser down realistically. However, if you remember, previous weeks we've actually seen a couple of times G2 try to get a fast plant down behind the piano. I've seen it, I think, twice from Kayak. I'm interested. I'm wondering if that's something that's going to come about again. Joystick just putting a surrogate on that window could be a little nod to that.
Now, as a steady collapse starts to come yet again from G2, but so far, unfortunately, when things have started to rock, unsteadiness seems to be the mantle that is dismantling them. Let's see if that team talk and the lovely halftime orange is supplied, or what is going to be what brings them back to a sense of balance in these slightly shaky Russian seas. For now, Scyther is making his presence around admin clear as they actually come from the opposite side for a CEO and basement garage entrance.
Kanto just moving in very quickly there, using that soft breach utility to open up the wall. And I've said previously that there is sort of little used pushes through garage. They can be used for archives tellers. They can only also be used for a press and lobby push here. So you try and get control underneath the map and then use a little bit of verticality. There's not too much to be found, but you can use those hatches and nades and other elements to potentially just move defenders around. But I would suggest you're still going to have a tough time of it in press and lobby if you don't get the top floor control to go with it. So Kayak and Virtue, they're just holding angles at the minute. I'm pretty sure they're aware of presence up on the top floor, and that's why they've just spotted out Always on the Malusi. He's going to move away for the time being. He needs to be careful because that yellow door is being watched and trying to just get a pinch on him here. But Always, he's having none of it. He's just keeping himself busy, keeping himself mobile, difficult to pin down. And right now, he's burning an awful lot of time, which is, you know, priority numero uno for Aroma.
That's it, a high amount of pressure. A grenade is finally his end, and so it is for Kanto to not have a kill. He is on the board. What can he build from this point onwards? A minute left, and they've lost Uno, but have picked up Dan in the trade. Those canisters are gone, but most importantly, Dan is gone, and for how much chaos he's been causing before, it's a big blow to the guns of Empire. Repositioning around the back with Piano to play the sweet tune of I'm gonna shoot you as soon as you swing on. They have the intel and the idea, and they're gonna try and drop some pressure and presence from the front of the lobby. The pings are consistent, and Shepard is looking to try and get a big angle with a big gun that we know loves to play. Misses the first as they just swing in. There's the drop, and there's Joystick catching two. Buried round the back and misplayed there, Kanto. He's able to down one as Shepard falls, but it's the presence now of Virtue on the windows themselves. Scyther locks them off. It's only Virtue. He's swinging on every which way. Can't quite find Joystick or any semblance of a Russian body. And now Empire, well, they're one step ahead.
Well, I picked up on it at the beginning of the round there. Joystick just applying those laser gates to the piano windows and locking himself inside of there. And I said they've obviously done the homework there. They've seen the number of times that G2 have tried to get the diffuser down inside of piano. And it was a bit of a Hail Mary, really, for Kayak, just trying to throw it down inside of a smoke canister, because Joystick, all he had to do was pepper that area with shots, and he was able to get his man. The real essential moment there was the hatch drop. That needs to end in a kill. Joystick needs to be taken out. Otherwise, that plant is never going to be successful. And Joystick did a great job. Gets one, moves on to the second, doesn't miss a beat, and leaves Virtue in a very, very difficult spot.
Empire, it's been a long time seeing you in the lead. Can you lock it off? Are you going to be able to actually go the full distance? 5, you are currently drawn tallied with some of your most recent losses. Obviously, the closest that you were, and the only time you're able to get a point was in that very opening Playday where you hit 6, hit OT, and then lost out to VP. But the momentum is in your favor. The very solid play is seemingly just continual. You're punishing the misplacements and misplays of G2, which is bad for G2. It's this situation where we've seen them talk about this before, where, you know, they know when they're having these off moments and these off play days, and you're making sure that you're alive, aggressive, and putting a lot of attitude against G2.
Citizen just looked like he was facing the wrong way on that that replay as well. It can be a little bit misleading sometimes, so I do apologise if that wasn't the case. But sort of dropping, pointing towards, I appreciate there could be a challenge coming from bathroom if there's a rotation open up there. But you know, the likelihood is if there's somebody there, Kayak's already been taken down, because that's exactly where he's planting, on the door. So I'm splitting hairs at that point, and you know, ultimately it's a difficult one to call when you're going down. You're going into the unknown, and you've just got to try and put yourself in the best position you can to fight. But more my point there is that it was a little unfortunate, not that it was a mistake. It just left him in a position where he couldn't really entertain that gunfight, especially with somebody like Joystick. So we are heading into round 10 then. Console will be our sight all the way up on the top floor, and you might ask yourself, what is Joystick doing? He's down there in the basement with the pulse, and there's a very good reason for it. The heartbeat scanner's range reaches pretty much up to the top of the roof of the building, so he's able to feed a lot of information in. But right now, G2, they're looking to feed him some bullets. This is a great pinch coming through. Citizen gets one onto Cider. Virtue shuts down Joystick, and very quickly, G2 find themselves in a 5 versus 3, and that is exactly the answer that was needed.
But it is exactly how the previous round started. 2 early picks, and then from there, suffering on their approach. Sure, they then lost the next body. Can they have this little bit of time, little bit of movement to go, okay, let's build from this and really punish the remaining bodies of Empire steadily? Reconvening and reattributing themselves. They focused differently on their previous take here, where they went inside physically underneath to dig out those bodies. Uno tries to catch the man on the rotation. Is he going to go for a bit of a revenge response peek? There it is, though. Was caught out by the eye and caught out by the C4. Not before he was traded. Obviously already low health. It didn't take much, but Kayak takes a life, and there's Kanto for another. G2, we're back level.
Nicely placed flurry of kills at the end of the round there, and that guarantees us 12 rounds of this action as an absolute minimum. And right now, I would not want to put money on either of these two teams being able to take this inside of 12. It looks like it's got overtime written all over it. This is a battle for the ages going on right now. They are just duking it out. It's a brawl,
That's it. That's what you wanted. It's what we wished for at the beginning. You've done the opposite of a cast to curse. It's a cast to call, though I'm sure the players probably wanted an easier day than an all the way sort of match. But hey, the audience. What would the audience want?
I think they'd want exactly what's being served up to them right now. And served up in round 11, we're going to head to Cafeteria. Talking about serving up, it's going to be Cafeteria and Garage. Down on the bottom floor, and Empire, they are looking to serve up something tasty for G2 here inside of this round. Whoever takes round 11 will be the one with the opportunity to shut this match down inside of the regulation 12 rounds without going to the overtime at the end. Now, Dan getting himself established on the top floor. We saw this last time, This was exactly the same for the Garage hold, if you remember. So much time wasted up on that top floor by G2 trying to chase down this roam and not really finding it, never really getting a hold of Dan. He was like a slippery snake, just in and out of problems and just causing an absolute nuisance, and G2 just couldn't get the boot on him.
Well, Empire, you are 1 round away from putting yourself on OT, and you have been fighting tooth and nail. You finally had the lead, but can you keep it solidly, and is the confidence something that you will build behind? Now, they're still pretty active on the roam and the setup as Joystick holds himself by the windows on the top floor, and with Scyther on the cover of Yellow Stairs, I guess they're waiting for the approach and the possibility of pulling a body out of G2's favor. But I'm curious here about how G2 opt for this. The drone all the way to the top will not actually get caught by Joystick, who in the meantime is rotating out of there and finding a new place to set up inside Yellow instead. They are slowly actually rotating all the way down. Here's the drones whirring and working close by. Drops one on the close corner, and for now it's just, well, where are the Empire players going to settle, and where can we set up the pinch that we played so masterfully previously?
G2 need to be very aware of Joystick here. He's just taking one drone after another, and that is going to seriously limit the information that's available to them. Could be a problem for them to worry about in the late round, but right now the immediate problem is, where is Joystick? Have to nail him to the wall here, have to get him chased down, cornered off and taken out, because otherwise he's going to hit you hard on the flank. He's playing on the yellow stairs and he's just waiting for an opportunity. He's just waiting for those last 20 seconds to hear they're coming in for the plant, and he just moves down yellow stairs and he'll just gun back, 1, 2, 3 in front of that yellow van and black car. Sorry, the white van and the black car. That's what he's looking for, and they have to stop him doing that. Dan is there to support him in that, playing in and around the bathroom. So this mid floor is still very much in the control of Empire, and until G2 do something about it, it's going to be difficult for them to get the diffuser down. Not impossible, but difficult, and that is the start they needed.
Well, now, what can you do with a minute on the board still? Joystick's gone and the wall is opened, but it's a tough angle and a tough way to bleed into the site itself. You have 4 smoke canisters, though. That's the big bit of utility you've got working in your favor right now. The concern is if you get caught on that movement, that puts the diffuser in a very tricky situation, as we've seen before when Empire tried a similar thing without being able to get those sides open, spilling down yellow stairs and going for a quick swing, but Virtue is dropped and Uno gets some revenge. There's Uno caught by Scyther around the back and covered off. A canister goes, but Dan swings wide. The C4 doesn't catch anybody else. Yet again, though, we're seeing G2 punished on their attempt. There's the diffuser carrier dropped. There's a little bit more revenge, but it's a 2 versus 1. No time, 1 above and 1 in line. They're trying to find something before they go for the stick. Another C4 still in pocket, but you don't need it because Dan's above and puts them guaranteed on a point.
4K for Dan on the round, and a lesson to be learnt for G2. They got Joystick cleared out and the focus switched to sight. They just never really seemed to get a handle on the fact that there was 2 of them out there. Where's Dan? That has to be the question. And he was able to come and hit them on the flank, hit them on the vertical, and cause a real problem for them. He was a thorn in their side, and but for Scyther picking up the one just out from the back of sight, he would potentially have had an ace lock down there to answer Uno's back in round number 6. So a great round from Dan once again, and it's got to be said, a great game from him today. 23 kills between him and the second placed Always. They are absolutely flying at the minute, and Shepard today, he's not picking up the kills, and that is not a problem. It is not a criticism, because Shepard's able to focus on what Shepard needs to do, and that is those support roles. Empire cannot be relying on him to prop the team up and get the big clutches and keep them in games. This is the position they want to be in.
Okay, G2, you're able to pull it back, and outside the turn of the half, no team has been more than 1 round away from each other since then, if not level, so you know it is well within your grasp. But the aggression from Empire is sometimes going a little bit unchallenged because they're so fluid with where they want to put the pressure on from, and as you've said, G2, they sometimes get a little bit blinkered by where they truly need to be dedicating their efforts, and that's allowing Empire to thrive a little bit here, but it's not over yet. Obviously, there's still the potential of playing ourselves into OT, and even then, it's the best of 3 to determine who walks away with points, and that is the only place Empire's single point has come from, was an OT loss on game day 1 versus VP. Here, they're in a position to quadruple their standing on the board in terms of points and start potentially climbing their way off the very cautious bottom of the board.
Manifesto being laid out for a top floor clearance from G2 here. That is going to be their number 1 priority. Scyther, he's got himself inside of that connector. Will try to, again, just keep himself alive for as long as possible. Uno spotting out those ADSs there, which will tell him that there is somebody playing in and around meeting, even if they haven't been able to pick them up on a drone. Kanto, well established inside of the copy room, and he feeds off that information that is no doubt been passed to him from Uno, saying we've got one inside a meeting. They set up with ADSs. In goes the nade to try and move Dan. Half damage done, but he's going to keep himself out there. He just wants to keep them off those windows for a second longer, and that is brave play. That is another 10 seconds burnt before somebody can move in through those meeting windows, and you love to see the speed of thought from Dan there.
Well, they've been able to pull themselves out and only suffered half health. 2 grenades popped through. A lot of work to do, and G2 are being cautious about doing it. They're not overextending or overreaching their arm as of yet. They're fully expecting another Secret Empire player to pop out of a corner cupboard and get a kill or 2, and they don't want to suffer that yet again. The concern there, though, is how long do you spend trying to dig out the fleshy portions of the map and just enjoying yourself in terms of the final few bites of the site itself. So they're weighing up that balance, waiting for that right moment to start to feel confident. And I guess the concern is, have they ever really felt confident this map?
1 minute left to go, and we seem to have found ourselves at a bit of an impasse here. G2 have just hit the pause button for the time being, but unfortunately it doesn't work on the clock, and the seconds keep ticking, the sand keeps falling, and they need to think about doing something soon. They don't have top floor control yet. 30 seconds left to go, and this could be a big Hail Mary through the front door for Virtue.
Yeah, he's going to try and pop those cameras and make sure he gets a bit of a cleaner entry here as the Aruni gate's gone. It probably won't be reactivated in the time as there's only 30 seconds left. Drop the default, and Kanto swings around the back of the spiral to try and offer some support. It's the bodies inside the bathroom that might cause the most problem, but Citizen is able to find Shepard. Drops the Maestro and drops a big bit of utility. Catches a second, rotating up the stairs. And they're going to try and stick it. Kanto with the cover around the back stairs. Everything is coming up. Blue and G2, and it's a flawless when they needed it most. We are going to OT.
We're going all the way, and I think everybody at home will be happy to see more and more of this game, just like you and I are, Em, because this has been fantastic Siege entertainment so far. These are the games, these are the ones that we really live for, because they just bring that tension and excitement. And what 2 better teams could you have? G2 versus Empire, facing down like this with all that history behind them, and a great execute in the late round from G2 there. I was concerned it was going to come down to just a Hail Mary through the front door and try and see who you could take down, but they'd managed to encircle Empire and get themselves into the positions to find the kills all in very quick succession. So well played from them. And heading now into round number 13, we will see the sides switch. G2 head onto the defense here. They're going to be defending press and lobby, and because I don't expect you at home to be taking notes, I'm going to give you the details. We did not see G2 defend press and lobby, M. This is new for Empire attacking onto this site today.
It's a risk and a roll, that's for sure, and I think it's a fair one to do in a way. It's off the beaten path, and G2 do love to play those little pocket strats. They like to push ideas and make teams uncomfortable, and you've kind of got to do that. Obviously, we saw a 4-2 turn of the half, but how many of those rounds came down to the final 30 seconds, if not the final 3 seconds?
Once again, G2 getting themselves all around the map, something they've done well so far. Kayak just able to, once again, in that same position that I spoke about for Joystick earlier, you're able to use that heartbeat scanner, and he's just scanning to let them know that there is going to be a push up towards the admin windows. But despite that information, Joystick is able to find the first onto Uno. So that is the Vigil gone. And one of those operators, I've said it before, I'll say it again, you have to think about those kills within the round, because, and I don't mean this in the way it sounds, but it's quite a selfish operator in terms of team composition. Vigil doesn't offer much outside of reinforcements, and not even that so much now that it's a reinforcement pool, because you're not bringing 2 along anymore. The team gets 10 anyway, and so Vigil's gadget just facilitates him to get kills, and that's what you got to bring, because otherwise, bring along Wamai and have a couple of magnets in sight. You lose your life, you've still got something to help the team.
Well, the swing around on the printer side starts to bring that pressure onto the top of the site. They're not wasting any of their presence and any of their pace here as Kayak feeds all that information. They know they're playing with that man down, so they got to make sure every encounter counts more than any other. Kanto is holding on, but he's a little bit cornered here as more and more pressure comes from across the board. He drops out of there, and it's the smart decision. A 5 versus 4 is tough for a lot of players, and we know they can play the reverse vertical very well. 5 versus 3, well, that's a nightmare in this situation, and they get the top floor anyway.
1 minute 20 left to go. G2, as you say, just having to dip back towards site now. We can see 2 left on the roam out towards yellow stairs, but I don't think they're going to be there for long. They're either going to lose their lives or lose their position as they have to move back now. How about that? A lack of information this time, biting Empire in the backside as Kayak is able to get an absolute freebie on the Nitro there. He hasn't been picked up underneath. There is no way, because Joystick would never have been stood so still for so long. Shepard goes in through the main door, starts getting the diffuser down. Sider with an important kill, but Citizen with an even more important one. Puts the diffuser, but it's activated. He just got there. Shepard holding on, and in the nick of time able to get it activated. And right now, G2, they are on the clock. 2 versus 3 as Sider locks down the first that Empire need. That Citizen gone. And now Kanto, Virtue, they have got about 15 seconds left to do something, anything. Kanto, low health, shut down by always Empire. They take the advantage once again. They've had match point before. They've not been able to close it out. Will round 14 be the moment?
This is the most rounds Empire have been able to take throughout this season so far in this league. This is the closest, in a way, they've been to a win. Sure, it's 2 points, but that's still, I mean, 2 more than you had before, and a lot more than the one you fell to last time. 1 round away, Empire. That's all that separates you from taking blood from the top. You've also got to think about this on the opposite side, though. G2, who are in a very fierce battle across the teams for the top side, with obviously Rogue showing up, Vitality and Kuwana putting a lot of pressure on. Any points dropped is a big problem right now, with only a handful of games left. Against the team that isn't in that competition and contention for a top 4 spot, that's even worse.
Dropping down to Garage for round number 14 then. This is going to be Empire's bastion. This is where they will try to make that final stand, get it locked down, and get the win on the board. As you say, they are looking for 2 points here. This will mean everything to them. It will mean far more than the 2 points. It will mean that the work that they have no doubt tirelessly been putting in has come to fruition. It will mean that it could be the breaking of the seal that sees them picking up more and more rounds as the stage goes on over the Super Weekend, and then they can look towards having a better Stage 2. This could be the lighting of the beacon fires to suggest that Empire are back.
Well, let's see if they, I guess, stay lit until the end, or if they unfortunately get snuffed out. G2 still have 2 possible rounds to play themselves back into favor and at least mark this in the win column, though a little bit shaky with the 2 out of the 3 possible points. Dancing around the top of the windows. Nobody again wants to overstep. They've suffered quite a lot to the roam of Empire and the aggressive contention that they've decided to put down in all the corners of Consulate. They're making sure they can be a bit steadier on their approach here, capitalizing across the top as they steadily open all the angles they need to. A minute has gone, but they've been able to open up these big kill holes all the way down to the bottom floor.
G2 need to be very careful of the roam presence here. They've fallen foul of this twice. They've got Joystick up on the top floor. They've got Scyther moving around as well. They need to ensure that they find both and that they lock them down. And Dan, again, in his signature spot inside of the bathroom there. How much damage has he done? I dare say he's had at least 7 or 8 kills out of there throughout this game. And if G2 allow him to, he's going to do exactly the same. So nearly halfway through the round, G2 need to think about getting moving here because they've got roamers to clear. They cannot push on until they get rid of them. We saw why on their last Garage attack. Good progress there. Damage done to Scyther. Shut down Citizen with a headshot. Joystick, damage done as well. This is looking for G2. We could be going all the way to 15,
And that's it. That's what they can build on now. They're steadily droning out. Is that a missed drone? Well, now it's not. They dropped the drone, so they're well aware somebody's there. It's whether they get him, and they do. Joystick dropped, went for the swing on Virtue. Didn't want to roll the dice on whether they knew he was there or not, and I think that's a little bit into the favor of G2. A minute left on the board, and they're starting, finally, their collapse to that ground floor before eyes angled down to the basement. The pressure comes from Kayak on the front with Citizen leading around the back, applying some grenades to the shield by Pipes and putting all those remaining red bodies further and further into the center of that kitchen and cafe.
Got to make sure that they pick up on Dan. He's still in the bathroom and still has the potential for a flank. Shepard, he's just putting down those Toxic Babe canisters. And there you go. That's what was needed, G2. Virtue on the flank watch, shuts down Dan without any danger or damage done. Always finds one onto Citizen. Time is ticking now. 18 seconds left to go. Kayak needs to think about that diffuser. He thinks about a plant. He touches it down, but then springs off it and gets the kill. Kanto doubles down and takes Shepard out. G2, they are taking us all the way. G2 versus Empire sits at 7-7. There is only one more round left to play, and that will be the decider.
Well, where are you going to go, G2? I think that's the question on everybody's lips. You have every site open and available to you, and split is your choice. This one, I guess if we go down the list of how holds went and how rounds did, it was obviously 50-50 across the board. It was, you know, a little bit of a misplay the second time round. The first came down to a 2 versus 1, but they still had some potential for some explosives underneath, and I'm supposing a little bit of change here might be that difference in the swing in momentum. Echo back on the board after the success story he had once upon a time, hoping to relive in the same clutch potential that we've seen played before on this map by G2 versus a Russian team.
Now, last time around, one thing that I picked up on for the G2 setup, and I understand the reasoning of it, so I'm going to be it's going to be not a criticism, but just something to maybe watch out for, was the difficulty that Uno had challenging onto the planter, because none of the teller's floor had been opened up, and there was just no real way to make a challenge. And sometimes we will see shotgun holes opened up in that floor to allow for strategic nitro tossers up into tellers to land on the desk and the cabinets to try and clear out any plant attempt. Now, you have to be careful because angles work both ways in Siege. That's what you have to remember. So if you open that up, you are giving an opportunity to the attackers to use that in reverse and to shut you down inside of archives. But you've got to find that happy medium. You've got to find that balance, because it was too late in the round and Uno was just unable to make any.
Activating stun sequence. Scanning. Deploying drone. Ready for hostiles.
A bomb has been located.
Hostile.
Scanning. Stay sharp. Bomb detected.
Bomb spotted.
the diffuser.